Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, Steal Away.
Sinners stand a-trembling. The trumpet sounds within my soul.
In my soul, I ain't got long to stay.
He calls me by the lightning. The trumpet sounds within my soul.
In my soul. Stay.
The oracles of the UCI, 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Now, we oftentimes see the destruction of an invading army as the worst form of destruction, but it is not. The physical army can only dominate and control as many people as it can reach at that particular time. They must acquire more weapons, more soldiers, more vehicles, and more food for the army to constantly conquer. The indoctrination that comes after war is indeed the real destroyer. With indoctrination, the invaders can control many more people than it can physically kill. Through the teaching of doctrine, the invaders can control future generations without firing one shot. We have to look at something. When we watch ball players go from high school to the pros, the establishment gets very upset. The reason they are upset is that the players who don't go to college are able to bypass the indoctrination that others have to go through. Doctrine is not just what someone says, but also what they do. By physically doing something, a doctrine is created in the minds of them that watch. We're going to begin today's sermon in Proverbs chapter 4. And today's sermon is entitled The Art of Indoctrination. See, when you see armies go and conquer lands, what they have to do is somehow coerce the people who have been invaded to join the culture of the invaders. So that has to be offered to them in a certain way that it becomes to them beneficial. Whether that be by force, whether it be by coercion, whether it be by acceptance, by any means necessary, they cannot continue their culture because it will not allow the invader to become one with the other people. They will always be separate. So a lot of times we just do not see the power and just how destructive doctrine can be. It is with the indoctrination that the minds and hearts are changed. When you look at just thinking about ball players, when you see all of the things that LeBron James has done, you can see that he was outside of the establishment and they went after him for certain reasons. He's bringing agents and creating his own agency firm, has done all of these things outside of what everybody else is doing. But what happened with the others? They all went to college and was indoctrinated into, told the way to think. If you also look at them, most of them are also married to people outside of their ethnicity. But what else do you expect? If you go to school for 4 years, that's just like going to high school all over again. But everybody around you is of a different ethnicity. What happens if you spend 4 years around an ethnic group not your own? You're going to eventually deal with those people. So look at the majority of ball players and then look at their wives, then look at where they went to college. Understand the indoctrination is real. So these are the things that they see. These are the things that they go after. Not understanding that it is a mechanism, that it was created to make sure that their mindset was to go in a certain direction. Proverbs chapter 4, and let's start that at verse 1.
Hear, you children, the instruction of a father, and attend to no understanding. For I give you good doctrine. Forsake you not my law.
Look, you have to deal with that. Forsake you not my law. So what does that mean? For I give you good doctrine. His law is doctrine. So anything that is said against his law is a different doctrine. It doesn't matter where it come from. It doesn't matter who says it. It don't matter if I say it. If it is not a part of his law, it's another doctrine. And your mind has to be on that no matter where it comes from. I give you good doctrine. Forsake not my law. Because once you forsake his law, you have begun to accept another doctrine. Go ahead.
For I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also and said unto me, let your heart retain my words, keep my commandments and live. Let
your heart retain my words, keep my commandments and live. Then the commandments are good doctrine. See, anything that comes lessen that is a different doctrine. And that's what we oftentimes look for, something to make the commandments easier, something to make Yahweh's culture watered down. That's why you find so many Hebrew Christians. They want to merge the two things together. So they want to water down the doctrine so in their minds it will be easier. But what they're really trying to do is make sure that they don't have to change. They can keep their old mindset and still follow Yahweh. Go ahead.
Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve you. Love her, and she shall keep you.
Forsake her not, and she shall preserve you. Love her, and she shall keep you. So then when things come upon you, if you have your heart fashioned in the right way, the good doctrine is going to override the bad doctrine that is trying to enter into your ears and eyes. See, when the adversary, the devil, entered into the serpent and says, you shall not surely die, for Elohim knows that if you eat from this, you will become like a god. It was another doctrine. Why? Because it was outside of the commandment, which is a law, which was the commandment that was given unto man. So you must be able to recognize another doctrine when it comes forth and not just think that it's a thing. It's not a thing. It's another doctrine. And you become responsible when you hear the doctrine and say nothing. Go ahead.
Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all you're getting, get understanding.
This is why it says that some are forever learning and never able to come to the truth. Why do you think that some of the most gross changes to Yahweh's law has come from people who have been in the Word for decades? The person that came in yesterday will have a purer heart than the person that's been in the Word 30 years. Now, how is that? With all that learning. See, learning doesn't change your heart. You have to make a decision that you're going to change your heart. So you can tell somebody that fire burn. But if they have an appetite to keep playing around with fire, they're not going to stop playing with matches. They knew what it would do. That didn't stop them. They had it in their heart that this is what they like to do. Knowledge doesn't change that. Go ahead.
Exalt her, and she shall promote you. She shall bring you to honor when you does embrace her. She shall give to your head an ornament of grace. A crown of glory shall she deliver to you. Hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of your life shall be many. I have taught you in the way of wisdom. I have led you in right paths. When you goeth, your steps shall not be straitened. When you goeth, your steps shall not be straitened, and when you runneth, you shall not stumble. Take fast hold of instruction. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is your life. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men.
Right. When you go in the way of evil men, you have now entered into the path of wickedness. See, we think we can be friends with evildoers, walk with them, do things with them, and still not be considered as evil as they are. You're sadly mistaken. You're justifying the wicked with your presence. Your presence there justifies them. And God forbid you speak up for them. You might as well go ahead and commit the sin with them. Go ahead.
Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. For they sleep not, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away, unless they cause some to fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. But the path of the just is as the shining light, that shines more and more onto the perfect day. The way of the wicked is as darkness. They know not at what they stumble.
They know not at what they stumble. You know, it's interesting that our fathers would have issues like this when they were raised in the Word. They were taught the law as children. How is it they don't know why they're stumbling? You've been reading this law since you were a child. You've been watching the culture unfold before your very eyes. How is it you don't know what's causing the problem? Go ahead.
My son, attend to my words, incline your ear unto my sayings. Let them not depart from your eyes. Keep them in the midst of your heart. For they are life unto those that find them, and health to all their flesh. Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Put away from you a froward mouth, and perverse lips put far from you. Let your eyes look right on, and let your eyelids look straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet, and let all your ways be established. Turn not to the right hand nor to the left. Remove your foot from evil.
Remove your foot from evil. Let's go to Daniel chapter 1. Daniel chapter 1, and we're going to read verses 1 through 7. And we have to remember, forsake not my law, for I give you good doctrine. And you have to consider, you have all of these congregations that want to read all of these other books, and they said this is about this is about that. If it's not dealing with Yahweh's law, what's happening is you're getting bits and pieces of another doctrine. Forsake you not my law, for I give you good doctrine. So then we want to go off and read some of these other books that are just, pretty much romance novels with biblical scripture thrown in. And then you start to pick up bits and pieces, not knowing it, that is going against Yahweh's law. You are accepting another doctrine bit by bit. And that's how doctrine or indoctrination happens. It's a bit here, a bit there, a bit here, a bit there. And before you know it, you now feel comfortable with going against Yahweh's word. But how did you get so comfortable going against his word? It didn't happen all in one night. No, it was little by little. Let's start at chapter 1 and verse 1.
In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Yehuda, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it. And the Adonai gave Jehoiakim, king of Yehuda, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of Elohim.
Now understand, when Yahweh gives the children of Israel over to another nation, it is because he has talked to Israel several times about repenting. Israel decides that they're not going to repent. See, we're those people. We're so tough that we do ourselves harm. So we keep on going in the path until Yahweh aggressively shuts the path down. Then we want to try and repent. So then once this invading army comes and he removes his hedge of protection, now the very battles that we used to win, we're not winning anymore. And we won't even see that Yahweh has removed the hedge. Why are you not winning? This used to be a situation where anybody come up on you, we pap, 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 slap them up and they go running back. That's not happening anymore. Why not? It was his hedge of protection that caused you to win those battles. But then we think it's because of our own physical ability. See? Go ahead.
Which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels in the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seeds, and of the princes.
All right, so chief people. So you got to qualify for this. That he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes. So automatically of the king's seed and the princes, but then certain other individuals that qualify. All right, go ahead.
And, with the bringing of the king's seed and the princes, that means they've already been brought up and taught certain things.
Exactly. So they are already looked at amongst the people as a great group of people. So if you can indoctrinate them, See, this is why it matters where you sit or what your job is within Yahweh's congregation. So if the adversary, the devil, can convince you of another doctrine, then you will be the catalyst to coerce other people into that doctrine. So they want certain people that they can educate. We would call this today a scholarship. You got to qualify for a certain level of indoctrination. And then once we indoctrinate you, you will in turn indoctrinate other people even without talking. Because they will see your stance and say, hey, look at how that person has achieved. I would like to achieve as well. So can you tell me, how did you learn what you learned? Sure, come on, let me show you the path of indoctrination. Go ahead.
Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, in whom they might teach the learning and the language of the Chaldeans.
Check this out, the learning and the language of the Chaldeans. So when we accept higher learning, what do we end up learning? We end up learning the king's English. See? We don't go in there talking hood talk. Now they teach you how to speak the king's English. So then you learn how to operate in corporate America. That's what that scholarship was given for. We believe that this person can be indoctrinated, so we're going to teach them our ways. And once we do it, make sure you go stand before your people. Because after that, the rest of them are going to run to us to be indoctrinated. We're not going to have to go and find people to indoctrinate. They're going to come to us. And understand who's doing this. This is the invader doing this. Why? Because he needs to turn the minds of the people that he has invaded toward him. Go ahead.
And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat.
So they gave them some food vouchers. Okay. And what they give you when you go to school? Okay. All right, go ahead.
And of the wine which he drank. So nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king.
All right, so they had advanced college because it's 4 years here. Go ahead.
Now among these were of the children of Yehuda, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names.
Okay, stop. So the first part of the indoctrination is, I need your name to change so that you will not glorify your culture as I educate you and teach you how to speak the king's language, that you will glorify my God. So I need for you to have that foreign name. This is why Kunta couldn't keep his name. No. Your presence needs to show that you have accepted our God and our rule and our culture. So all those who will not accept it must be punished openly in front of everybody. Go ahead.
You know, when you look at verse 6 is the answer to verse 3. It says, now among these were the children of Yehuda, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And what he said? Of the king's seed, of the princes.
So they need certain people. But then you have to understand. So when the adversary, the devil, comes in a congregation and he wants to put forth another doctrine, who is he going to look for? He going to look for the brother in the back that's sweeping the floor? No. He going to start up front. And understand, he'll start up front at any different direction. It don't matter which or how he gets into the house at the front. So it matters. They're picking specific individuals that they may be able to control their thought process. Go ahead.
Unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names. For he gave unto Daniel the name of Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego.
Now, you know, when they're given these names, understand that all these names glorify the pagan god that the king worships. So this is a part of the indoctrination. Even the names that we are called by. Because understand, when our parents picked names, they picked from the list of Gentile Christian names that we thought were available. And then you look at who was always looked down upon in school. It was the people who start taking them ethnic names. And, we didn't know no better at that point. So we helped the establishment do it. So, and then we just put names together. We didn't know what we were doing. We just made up something, It sounds like some drug. This is my daughter, Astronautica. Who? Where you get that from? How you put that name together? Did she come in pill form? What is that? But it was our push to get away from the Christian names that were forced upon us. Because your name is the first thing, it is the first sign of indoctrination. Once he did this, the very first thing he did, pick some people who we may be able to educate. The very next thing is change their name. We don't see the power in that. Let's go to Matthew chapter 16. So when we do change our names, when we get baptized and we pick a spiritual name, you have to understand that this is now your first part of spiritual independence. This is why all those people who are naturally connected to you will start fighting against you. Well, what's wrong with the name your daddy gave you? Your name is Daryl. I think Daryl is wonderful. What the hell you name yourself? Shimmy. I can't even say that. Shimmy Shay. Who is that? I think Daryl was fine. You don't like your daddy no more? Because you named after your daddy. You hate him? What's wrong with you? See, so now the natural side is starting to fight against the spiritual side. Because rather than be named after your natural father, you rather be named after your spiritual father. But if you get right down in the book, if we were following the culture, your name would still be directly connected to your natural father. See, Esaac ben Israel means Esaac, son of Israel. My kid name would be Nehemiah ben Esaac. His last name would be my first name. That's Nehemiah, son of Esaac. And then his son would be whatever ben Nehemiah. So it is a story of lineage every time you mention the child's name. If it's a daughter, it's Bat Israel, Bat Kish. Then you know that this would then be Kylin, daughter of Kish. The name is a sentence. It is a sentence and a proclamation of their heritage and what family they belong to. All you gotta do is read the name. That's it. So everybody won't be Ben Israel. After we set up our things, that last name will be your first name. Then we'll be able to know. We don't have to do that thing that they did in the country. When you saw them kids, they'd be like, hey, who boy you? We ain't got to worry about who boy you, because they going to say, what's your name? Nehemiah ben Esaac. Oh, Esaac your daddy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw some stuff. You ain't got no guns with you, do you? Mm-hmm. Hey, I heard some stories about your daddy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me go back in here and meditate for a little while. Stay out front. Yeah, keep your hands where I can see them. Go ahead, bro.
Matthew chapter 16 and verse 5. And when his disciples were come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Yahshua said unto them, Take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees.
This is leaven. Remember, it says one drop of leaven leavens the whole lump. So we could say, okay, well, there was just one problem with the doctrine. Once there's one drop in the doctrine, it has ruined the entire doctrine. You got to redo that. Go ahead.
And they reasoned among themselves, saying, It is because we have taken no bread. Which when Yahshua perceived, he said unto them, O you of little faith, why reason you among yourselves because you have brought no bread? Do you not yet understand, neither remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets you took up? Neither the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many baskets you took up? How is it that you do not understand that I speak it not to you concerning bread, that you should beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees? Then understood they how that he bade them not beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and of the Sadducees.
So what was he doing by calling the doctrine leaven? He said, I'm not talking about bread. I'm telling you to beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. And then it says, when you understand what it says, one drop of leaven leavens the whole lump. Okay? So if they can slide any thought process into your mind that is not supported by Yahweh's law, then their doctrine has leaven in it. You have to look at why he compared it to leaven, because all it takes is one drop. The whole doctrine ain't got to be wrong. Just a pinch. As my grandma would say, put a little do-dabble in there. How you measure a do-dabble? How big is that? Is that a cup? Is that a teaspoon? What's a do-dabble? It don't matter. All you need is just a little do-dabble of leaven. You have changed the entire doctrine with just that little do-dabble that you sprinkled in there. Go ahead, brother. Read the definition of doctrine here.
From H3948, lekach. From H3947, properly something received, that is mentally or mental instruction, whether on the part of the teacher or hearer.
Or hearer. So understand, there's doctrine coming forth out of the mouth that the person is speaking, and then the person who's hearing it is receiving doctrine. And remember now, doctrine ends up spreading like wildfire. See, a lot of times you'll have situations where people say, well, I only said this wrong thing one time. Okay. Well, then who that person said it to? And then who that person that you said it to, and who they said it to, and who they said it to, when they said it to, who they said it to, who they said it to. See, now the doctrine is spreading. Okay, so that you may understand. If I pour gasoline and I drop down a match and it sets fire right here, all right? But then the fire takes this building next to us and then the building next to that. If they say, Esau, you burned down these 3 buildings. No, I only put gas in the one on the left. Can I then say that I only burnt up one building? No, because I set the fire that started the fire that started the other fire, which started the other fire, which burned down the whole damn complex. That's what doctrine does. It doesn't stay where you dropped it. Because the person or the place where you dropped it, then they take it to somebody else. And then that somebody else take it to 3-4 somebody else's. And then that 3-4 somebody else's take it to 8 somebody else's. Now you got a whole different doctrine. And then, you still have a person feeling, innocent saying, well, I only dropped it in one place. Or maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know that, but that's it. Yeah. But that's how fire breaks out. You don't have to go to each and every last building and pour gas in each one of them. You don't need to pour the gas and light the matches, but in one. Go ahead.
Also, in an active and sinister sense, inveiglement, doctrine, learning, fair speech.
All right, let's go to Exodus chapter 12. See, some of the very things that we are encountering now with the push to receive certain things. It's doctrine. They are forcing a doctrine down our throats, and then using us to push the doctrine upon one another. Well, if you ain't received such and such, I don't even want you near me. We didn't enforce the doctrine to one another. But remember, as we stated earlier, it's not just doctrine, it's not just what you say. It is also what you do. You establish a doctrine in the eyes of the people that watch you perform certain things. Exodus chapter 12, and let's read verses 21 through 28.
Then Moshe called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families and kill the Passover. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. For Yahweh will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he sees the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, Yahweh will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in onto your houses to smite you. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to you and to your sons forever.
Now, consider that. Now, listen to the whole thing. You know, you have the blood over the lintel and the two side posts, and then you go in the house. And you don't come out that night. Okay, go ahead.
And it shall come to pass, when you be come to the land which Yahweh will give you, according as he has promised, that you shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, what mean you by this service?
You see that? Your children are to see you, watch you perform this, and then ask you, so why we do this again? See, you had already created a doctrine in the hearts and minds and eyes of your children by them watching you constantly do it. When you see your mother constantly cook on Sunday, your thought process is, it's supposed to be some soul food on Sunday. You know, I'm looking around. So then you get people grown, and then, you know, they looking around the house. Why don't smell no chicken and collard greens? It's Sunday. I watched this growing up. What happened? It had been set and drilled in your mind that this is the way this is supposed to go. So then you look around, and that's not going on, and you have a problem. Sometimes you don't even know why you have a problem. Because sometimes the indoctrination doesn't explain itself. That's why they say, what mean you by this service? I see you do this, but so I'll know when it's my time to do this, why we doing this, why we do this again. Go ahead.
You know, brothers, just like what's coming up in a couple of days, we've perpetuated that doctrine for so long. Even when we come of age and know that this is a lie, we still keep the doctrine going.
Yeah. We know it's a lie. And then we tell our kids not to lie to us, and we've been lying to them for 12 years straight. And then we have a problem when they get caught lying. Did you lie to me? Well, I was just doing what you did on Christmas. I learned it by watching you. Right. See, people ain't gonna like that. Do you lie to these kids every year? Tell them that you bought this. Santa Claus bought this. Santa Claus got, he go a gift right here. Santa Claus, see, I bought this one right here, but Santa Claus bought that one. Well, Santa Claus didn't know I want the red one. Because it's the blue one right here. It's the blue one. Santa Claus suck. And why you got to work overtime again, mama? I got to go pay for the, we got some bills. Right. I thought you said the fat jolly guy gave us this. Why you got to work overtime if he gave it to us? So now the lie turned into even more lies. But because we've been indoctrinated into it, there are people that don't even feel right when they don't get to partake in this Christmas spirit. They don't get to have their lights and trees, you know. You gotta be ready, man. When you set forth the way that your house is gonna go, and you take out them Christmas lights, you might want to just get you some LED lights and flash them in your house, just so they won't be too tripped out. All right, look at baby, I got some lights that just put down on the floor and flash for you. You know, it's so I can wean you off of this bad spirit you've been on. Cause do understand, them first couple years of no Christmas, you're gonna have some problems. You're gonna have arguments that don't make no sense. You're gonna be arguing about biscuits. Who in the hell argues about biscuits? It ain't really about the biscuits. It's about my tree ain't up and I don't see no lights. Go ahead.
You know, you was talking about the spirit, and I was showing Mother Leelle and some of the other sisters earlier, where last night in Gwinnett County, a brother-in-law killed his brother-in-law, ran him over at the Christmas party. They had an altercation, argument, he ran the man over. It's that spirit of craziness. And you know, my next thing was, hey, if you was observing the Sabbath, this wouldn't have happened.
Well, you know, that spirit of Christmas shows up seriously around these times. Because folks is robbing and stealing, knocking folk over the head, letting them come out of Walmart, let them shop all day, sit there and watch them as they picking up stuff in the buggy, picking out which one of them they're going to knock over the head.
Ooh, you see what she put in that buggy? Oh, yes. Follow her to the car.
Oh, that stuff increases around this time. Because when people don't have any gifts to give, they feel some kind of way. See? That indoctrination makes them feel that they have failed as a parent. So now they got to go knock somebody over the head so they can get some money to give some gifts and then lie about where the gift came from. And then tell you that that's about Christ. So you done beat up one person, stole from that person, then gave it to your child, and then lied to your child about where it come from. Your God must be so happy. He must be so proud of you. Go ahead.
Verse 27, that you shall say, it is the sacrifice of Yahweh's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshipped. And the children of Israel went away and did as Yahweh had commanded Moshe and Aaron, so did they.
All right, so then they understood that a doctrine should be visible before the eyes of these children so that they can keep it. All right, we're going to go into the Apocrypha, into 1 Maccabees chapter 1. If you do not have one, y'all can share a couple of these. Raise your hand if you don't have one. Pass a couple of these out right here. Remember the address? Remember the address. Remember from whence they came. All right. For they shall return. All right. Brother, can you also go over there and see if any of the sisters need a Apocrypha? We're going to 1 Maccabees chapter 1. And we're going to go to verse 29 through 64. First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 29 on the book that we just passed out is page 116.
You say 116.
Hmm?
You say 116?
I say 116. Oh, 114? 114. 114. Thanks, bro.
Verse 29. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Yehuda, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them. But all was deceit.
Right. Spoke peaceable words, but it was all deceit. Go ahead.
For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel.
And one of the reasons why, they did not want to include, what happens is people see the Apocrypha, so then they deal with everything in the Apocrypha, and they did with all these other books, saying we should accept all of these books. Do understand, when you deal with 1st and 2nd Maccabees, you're dealing straight with history. We can go into our encyclopedias and find the very individuals in our history books who performed these deeds. That's why they didn't want these books in the normal canon, because you can go and find Alexander the Macedonian, who they call Alexander the Great. You can go right in the book and find him. He was the leopard that went through and conquered because he conquered the earth so fast. Well, then that automatically gives you an inclination as to who the people were who came and destroyed the holy city. Then if you start, actually thinking, you say, well, wait a minute. If the people who destroyed the holy city, why would we trust them to tell us who the holy people are when you the one who came through and destroyed it? And didn't you put other people in the place as Jews as you remove the true children? See, that's what a history book ends up showing to you. And that's why these things are not looked highly upon. And folks don't even know that they're pushing other doctrine because they're telling you to read this book and read this book. All these basically biblical romance novels. No. Let's read this right here so we can know exactly what was done and who did it. Go ahead.
And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle.
So the same thing that they have, that they're doing now, assault the men, leave the women and children alive. Why? Because you can then create a doctrine to control their thought processes. But you're going to have a hard time controlling the thought process of the men, so kill them off. So this is why we have more problems here, and you have, our women sometimes saying, well, I don't know what the problem is. I went to school. I'm able to get a good job. What is your problem? Why haven't you, achieved in life? What is your problem? They're not at war with her. They're just trying to control her. They want dead. Same tactic that's been working for generations upon generations, centuries upon centuries. Why change it? Go ahead.
Then built they the city of David with a great and strong wall and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them.
For them. Go ahead.
And they put therein a sinful nation.
You see that? So then we can go in 1 Kings and read the same thing, where the invaders come in, take out the children of Israel, and put another group of people in there. Yet people will tell you, my family has been in Jerusalem for centuries. Yeah, I know. When the rest of them demons got put in there. Congratulations. Go ahead.
Wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, and so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel.
Okay, so if Israel is supposed to reverence the sanctuary, you create a different mindset and doctrine inside the hearts and minds of the people if you then defile the place that they're supposed to reverence. Go ahead.
Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it. And so
now,
much.
Hold your place right there. They shed innocent blood. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 21. Hold your place right there. They shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary. Deuteronomy 21. And read verses 1 through 9.
Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse 1. If one be found slain in the land which Yahweh your El gives you to possess it, lying in the field, and it be not known who has slain him, then your elders and your judges shall come forth, and they shall measure unto the cities which are round about him that is slain. And it shall be that the city which is next unto the slain man, even the elders of that city shall take an heifer, which has not been wrought with, and which has not drawn in the yoke.
No work has been done with this animal. Go ahead.
And the elders of that city shall bring down the heifer onto a rough valley, which is neither eared nor sown, and shall strike off the heifer's neck therein in the valley. And the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come near, For them Yahweh your El has chosen to minister unto him and to bless in the name of Yahweh. And by their word shall every controversy and every stroke be tried.
Right. But see, at the end of the day, do we trust the people that Yahweh has put in place? Go ahead.
And all the elders of that city that are next unto the slain man shall wash their hands over the heifer that is beheaded in the valley. And they shall answer and say, Our hands have not shed this blood, neither have our eyes seen it. Be merciful, O Yahweh, unto your people Israel, whom you have redeemed, and lay not innocent blood onto your people of Israel's charge. And the blood shall be forgiven them.
And the blood shall be forgiven them. But this thing must happen when the innocent blood is shed. Go ahead.
So shall you put away the guilt of innocent blood from among you, when you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahweh.
All right. So go back to where we were. Verse 37. Read that again.
Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it.
Right. And if they can't do the other things, then they can't restore it. This is a part of the indoctrination. Okay? They're doing this on purpose. They're purposely defiling the sanctuary. Go ahead.
Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of it.
You see that?
Because of them, pardon me.
You see that? They can't cleanse it. They're doing this on purpose. This is to kill. Before you can indoctrinate somebody into another thought process, you need to kill the one that they have. Go ahead.
Whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers.
Here we go again. Once again, you have more and more people coming into Israel who are not Israelites. So then people will come and tell you, my family has been here for generations. Well, do understand, you have several places that you can go and whether it's the Bible, whether it's the Apocrypha, you can show where strange people have been put there. Go ahead.
And became strange to those that were born in her. And her own children left her.
And her own children left her because it was defiled. They didn't want to stay there. And then other people came and inhabited. And now they call themselves the Jews. Go ahead.
Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning. Her Sabbaths into reproach. Her honor into contempt. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased. And her excellency was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws.
Okay? All right, so pay attention. All right, that everyone should be one people. This whole part of being one people is about having one centralized doctrine. This is why the Euro-Gentiles came, conquered Israel, so-called accepted Christianity. They accepted the Jews' religion, called it Christianity, but then implanted all of the gods that they worship. That's why you got people hell-bent on keeping Christmas, even though their mental tells them there's no way Christ was born in the freezing cold in December. Who in their right mind would leave a newborn baby out in the cold at night in the freezing time of December 25th? Their senses tell them that that's not right. But the doctrine that they hold in their heart tells them to move forward regardless of what your mind says. That's the power of doctrine. It doesn't have to make sense. Doctrine doesn't have to make sense. Because you don't follow it by your natural mindset. You follow it by how you feel. Go ahead.
So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yes, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Shabbat. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and to the cities of Yehuda that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
Right. And then you think it's a coincidence when you get people, these high up televangelists telling you that any day could be the Sabbath. They were taught by the people who put them in power to profane the Sabbath. So this is what they teach from their organization. And how can you profane the Sabbath? By not holding it sacred, saying that any day could be the Sabbath. So it don't matter if you gather on Sunday or Saturday. That thought process alone profanes the Sabbath. But it's the powers that be that are over them, that give them their tax exempt status, that help them build buildings without money. They get grants to get more and more buildings. You think they got those buildings because they took up offerings. No, they took up those offerings and put that money in their pocket. They took grant money and built the new building. There's some that have a building fund. They done had a building fund for 20 years. Ain't built not damn building. Go ahead, bro.
Verse 45. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
Right. So then it is now law to do wrong. Go ahead.
And pollute the sanctuary and holy people. Set up altars and groves.
Groves are what they have in their houses now. Christmas trees. They're evergreen trees. Yahweh said, look, I created all things, but I don't want no groves nowhere near my altar because I know what y'all doing with them. Watch on TV and tell me if you don't see a Christmas tree sitting right next to their altar. Go ahead.
And chapels of idols. And sacrifice swine's flesh.
And every last one of these heathen days is going to be some ham offered there. See, back in the days, they'll put the whole pig and just stick an apple in his mouth. And everybody come cut off a piece of the pig. All we do now, we think we're doing it different. We just scramble the pig with eggs. You're saying this is ham. This is ham eggs, baby. This is delicious. Right. And every last one of them gatherings, there's some pig in it. See, that comes from the ordination of the ruling Gentiles who invaded the land. Now, our people act like we can't eat nothing without banking on it. We just get miscellaneous stuff and put bacon in it. It's a cheeseburger, put bacon on it. We want a turkey sandwich, put bacon on it. We're like, you know what? I just want to eat some cornflakes. Put some bacon on it. Go ahead, bro.
And unclean beasts. That they should also leave their children uncircumcised.
Leave their children uncircumcised. See, now they are pushing us to go all the way against Yahweh's law so that we can accept the indoctrination of how they live. See, once I can turn your mindset, I can turn you. Now, and once this happens, you're going to do it to your children. They only have to do this once. You know, you have to ask yourself. You know, I have music that I recorded before, you know, I got in the Word. So if some of those songs where I said certain things, when it's time for my judgment, will my Elohim judge me one time? Or will he judge me by how many people heard it? So can I say to him, Yahweh, I just said this thing right here. I just said it one time in the studio. Yeah, but 300,000 people heard that, son. But see, it's better to know what you got. See, ain't nothing worse than the person that said, I said it one time and they don't understand. Now you're going to get judged 50 times because that was repeated 49 other times. So that's how you walk around feeling justified, not knowing you knee deep in sin. Go ahead, brother.
And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. To the end, they might forget the law.
That is the purpose. To the end that they might forget the law. So I need to first defile all of these things so you will be persuaded to walk against Yahweh's law. And then you will then walk into our doctrine. See? By walking against your Elohim's doctrine, you are accepting ours at the same time. Go ahead.
And change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
Right. So we're going to persuade you with a little bit of death. Go ahead.
In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Yehuda to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land.
Right. You have those people that will be friends of whoever's in charge. You know, that's the one thing I never wanted my elder to pass away. I was fine being a student, but I noticed some very, very interesting things as other elders began to take power in his death, and each one of them was different in not any way like him. I witnessed how some people were friends to each one because he was in power, and you can tell what was being taught was not correct. That then exposed those individuals. Oh, you just friends of whoever in power. You're not friends of righteousness. So you think they're your friends. You need to see that. It's good for you. It may hurt, but it shows you something about people. Go ahead.
And it drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for safety. Now the 15th day of the month Caslu, in the 145th year, they set up the abomination of desolation upon the altar, and built idol altars throughout the cities of Yehuda on every side.
Right. And if you pay attention to most of these names of the months, you're going to find that they're dealing, you're going to see those when the Gentiles are ruling. Because then we pick up their month names and all of these things. Just like we have the names of the days. What Yahweh gave us was the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, Sabbath day. It automatically is sanctified. It is automatically separate from the other ones because it was the only one that was given a name. What did Gentiles do? Give us a name for every last one of them. So what did that then do? Make the Sabbath not special. Mm-hmm. Now all of them have a name. So you don't even see that as being profile. That this was something that was defiling something, rather. That it was defiling, the Sabbath by making it even with everything else. But it was automatically supposed to be set apart. But if I give it a name just like every other day, a name just like the Sabbath, then now it's being less set apart. Then if we start teaching that you can worship on any day, it doesn't matter which day, boom, it has been defiled even more. Which makes it altogether easy to just accept Sunday. Because, it's easy, nobody's really doing anything else on that day. It's a better day to worship, because, we can go ahead and have our Little League games on Saturday. We can go ahead and go to the malls, And then we can make the day that we really don't do anything anyway, the worship day. It works, see? But you've been pushed to that day to make it work. Go ahead.
And burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found.
Rent in pieces the books of the law which they found. Go ahead.
They burnt them with fire.
Burnt them with fire. See, part of the heaviness of the indoctrination is I need for you not to be able to even go back and find out what we've done. Go ahead.
And wheresoever was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should be put to death.
Okay, pause. Understand. Think about all the things that happened to even translate the Bible into English. Half of them people, some of them people were set on fire, burned alive. Why? They needed to control the flow of information. That's why you got people who don't know they're working for the adversary. They say, well, unless you speak Hebrew, you won't be able to attain unto your salvation. What they doing? Controlling the flow of knowledge. Saying that, you can't read it in English. Now, people have been set on fire for this to be translated in English. But they want to tell you, unless you speak that language, you can't attain unto your salvation. You're not a real Hebrew. Anything they can do to get in your mind, to get you to walk in their culture, will then in turn cause you to walk against the culture of Yahweh, your Elohim. Go ahead.
You know, brother, when you look at verse 57, and they're talking about burning the books, and it says, wheresoever was found, that means they're hiding the books. Then you go back into Ezra, and it says, we found the book of Yahweh.
Right.
Now, if this was a part of the original text, we'd understand, oh, they would burn them. That's why they found it.
That's why they found it. You know, because it was hidden. Like, how y'all find the book? Why y'all didn't know what the book? Hey, man, when the invaders come, they don't just want our gold. They want the holy book of our law, so they can set it on fire. That way, we will all will become one people, because that way they can influence us and get us to follow their doctrine. See, that's harder when you can go back to the book. So you got to understand, anybody who's trying to give you a different doctrine, they're hoping that you don't go back to your book. They can only give you another doctrine if you're not reading. They cannot give you another doctrine if you're reading. They give you a doctrine and you say, hold on, give me a second. Okay, say that again. Because verse 47 says something different. Let me read it to you. Guaranteed they're not coming back to you no more. They might not still keep saying that erroneous doctrine. They're just not gonna say it to you no more. They're gonna learn.
Don't say it to him. No, because what he gonna do is he gonna go and he gonna go find it in the book, and he gonna tell you a lie and the truth ain't in you. Don't go over there. Don't go over there. And I can tell you.
Hey, the Jehovah's Witnesses learn not to come to my door. They start sending me letters. I made sure I want. Which one? Where the leader at? Who? You the one that's teaching her? Okay, come here, cause I don't want to deal with the little one. Now I want to cut way at the top. I want to make sure I get the head of the tree. Oh, I ain't have to worry about it no more. And one of them came back to my house. They come down my street, and it's like an invisible force field. They come down the street and be like, they go to the other side, and then they walk across like that right there. They're like, what they doing? Oh, the word done got out. That's been Israel's house. Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. Every now and then it may look like one gonna come over there, and one of them grab them. Girl, don't go over there.
No, that's been Israel's house. No, don't play around over there. We lose disciples if they go.
Right.
Don't go over there. No, he got like secret Jehovah's Witness books that's got Yahweh in it. Don't go over there. Whatever you do, don't go over there.
Go ahead, bro.
Thus did they, by their authority, unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th day of the month they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of Elohim.
Right. Now the 5 and 20th day of the month, the 25th. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. You sure do treat me nice. Right. Go ahead.
At which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. And they hanged the infants about their necks.
Hang the infants about their neck. You need to understand what the ruling people did to force us into this indoctrinated status. That these people will turn around and attack you for a culture that was forced upon them. Why they doing that?
Jesus is Lord.
Right. That was beat into them. And they're going to try to beat it into you. And if you sit there and let them beat it into you, you the fool. These people didn't have any choice. It was beat into them, and they had no power to fight back. You got power to fight back. You swing on my guard, I'm swinging on yours. We're going to have a guard fight up in here. I ain't finna sit around here and, we just going to be quiet and say, Yahweh, and then I'm just going to be humble. No, you bring Jesus, I'm bringing Yahshua. You bring Jehovah, I'm bringing Yahweh. Come on, hey, we about to fight up in here. Go ahead, bro.
And they hanged the infants about their necks and rivaled their houses, and slew them that had circumcised them.
Right. They hang the infants about their necks. What they do when they wanted to indoctrinate us in the South? They wanted to make sure we didn't vote. They burned them crosses in our yard and hung us in the front yard. Go ahead.
You know, when you look at this, there's a whole lot of people getting killed. Because you talk about killing the women that had their children sacrificed, hanging the infants, and then they killed them that did the circumcision.
Right. So they're forcing this doctrine. And after going through so much, they're not going to have to do this to the next generation. They ain't got to do this but one time. They got a certain amount of time that they have to do this. Guess what? Everybody else going to teach the fear. Don't do that, girl. They're going to hang your baby. Girl, you crazy? You been uncircumcised, that child. And they ain't have to go and do it. The people going to do it on their own. The people going to be going, you know what? Y'all want to go hang out. I'll keep your baby. What you want to keep my baby for? I want to see if your baby's circumcised. So you have to ask, how they even know if the baby was circumcised? That means somebody doing circumchecks. How the hell you know if I have my baby circumcised or not? Hanging the baby. So that means they sending spies to the circumcision. They sending spies to the congregation. They sending spies everywhere where the children of Israel gather, so they act like they with you, but they really not with you. So they come to the circumcision. Oh, congratulations. Oh, my goodness. Another child of God has been born. Oh, it's beautiful. Okay, Mr. Bob Dapolino, it was Shechaniah. It was, I saw Kish there. I saw Esau there. And let me tell you the kids who got the circumcision. And you wonder how they can go straight to the kids who got circumcised. Why? Because they had agents of us. Same way they got right now. Them agents come in here, act like they cool with you. They taking information. Man, the devil ain't gonna stop what he doing. It's been working. Go ahead.
Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died. And there was very great wrath upon Israel.
And you consider that you have people then dying just because they do not want to eat this unclean food. Let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 6. And we swear we have, like, you know, the hardest things. You know, what happens is a lot of times we only think Christ had a hard life. See, that's our problem. So we like, you know, well, I mean, I ain't no Mashiach, I ain't Christ, but you know, nobody should have to go through anything. Man, these regular people going through this stuff. See, part of the doctrine is to make you think that only the Mashiach went through this. No, man. Our people went through this in mass. Second Maccabees chapter 6, and let's start at verse 1.
Not long after this, the king sent an old man of Athens to compel the Yehudis to depart from the laws of their fathers, and not to live after the laws of Elohim.
Now, understand why they're doing this. Not long after this, the king sent an old man. See, they sent an elder. So, understand how the demon is going to work. The demon is going to get somebody of certain status or in a certain position, get them to display an erroneous doctrine. Then all the other people will follow the erroneous doctrine because that person of status appeared to have accepted it. Go ahead.
And to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter, Olympius.
Call it the temple of Jupiter. Check that out. Go ahead.
And that in Gerizim of Jupiter, the defender of strangers, as they did desire that dwelt in the place. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people, where the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places.
Right. So then when you see the things that the popes do, why are you surprised? They have, in the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles. So they got unclean parties going on at the temple, who then dallied with harlots, hookers, at the temple. Go ahead.
And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. The altar also was filled with the profane things which the law forbids. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts.
Check that out. It was not lawful for you to keep the Sabbath or the feast days. So you wonder why the so-called holy Christian asks you, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? They doing what they was taught by the demons that led them in the beginning. This was forced upon our people in either do it or death. So then they turn around and push it to you. Why are you even doing all that? Jesus took care of all that. We ain't got to do that. And what you think Jupiter is all about? Who you think that was? See? This was the pushing in of their God and the removal of ours. Go ahead.
Or to profess himself at all to be a Yehudi.
He couldn't even say, and look, ain't that worse than calling a black person a Jew and they don't know they one. Who you calling a Jew? Well, you can call me the N-word, you can call me a motherfucker, but you better not call me no Jew. Go ahead.
And in the days of the king's birth, every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Yehudis were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus, carrying ivy. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Yehudis that they should observe the same fashions, and be partakers of their sacrifices.
Right. So now people are always telling you this crap that people use to go against certain parts of Yahweh's law that they don't like. Obey the laws of the land. See, because the laws of the land don't allow you to do certain things. Understand, it was a law of the land that told you to defile the sanctuary. It was the law. They were the ruling power and they set the new laws. The laws of the land said bring harlots in the temple. The laws of the land said sacrifice a pig on the altar. The law of their land said take a harlot in the back room of the temple. Oh, you gonna obey that too? Right. They just use that because they don't like other parts of Yahweh's law. So they use it when it's convenient for them. Go ahead.
You know, brother, when you look at the verse of the end of verse 7, we island people have been doing this for the longest. This carnival thing. It said go in procession to Bacchus.
Carrying
procession. What's a procession? A band.
Yeah.
That's carnival. Bacchanal.
Right. Oh man, we do all kind of stuff that we don't understand. You know, look and get toward their holidays. You know, they have St. Patrick's Day. All these black folk dressed up in green with a little leprechaun outfit on, shoes, hat. If you showed them a picture of Ireland, they'd be like, is that Louisiana? No! You don't even know what the hell it looked like. But you out here dressed like a damn leprechaun. Carrying around a fake pot of gold with a rainbow on the head. Have you seen me gold? Read, man.
And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. For there were 2 women brought, who had circumcised their children, whom when they had openly led round about the city, the babes hanging out at their breasts, they cast them down headlong from the wall.
You need to understand how these doctrines got forced upon us. So don't think it to be strange when people start to get forceful with you around Christmas time.
Oh, we're going to set up this tree in here. And we're going to put some gifts under it. And we're going to worship the Lord.
You gonna be worshiping outside. You ain't gonna do it in here. So don't think it's a strange thing when they get forceful with you. Understand how they got it. Go ahead.
Hey, brother, you know, it's harsh when we hear Yahweh say, kill everything, even the baby on the breast.
Right.
But he's looking back at what's been done to us. We got to understand, man, this is what they did. Now Yahweh's like, hey, what's the recompense? Do unto them what they've done.
But you know us.
Well, I'm going to have mercy. I'm going to save the baby.
Right. And that's going to be the baby that's going to rise up and come and kill your whole family. Go ahead.
And others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly, being discovered to Philip, were all burnt together because they made a conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day.
Check this out. And others that had run together into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly. What do y'all think we pray? Thank you, Yahweh, for giving us a place whereby we can hold holy convocation. But see, because we don't think it's sacred, we don't understand that other people went through hell for this. We'll come and bring all our mess with us to the sanctuary. Not understanding, hey, man, there was people forced to keep the Sabbath in caves. Because they killing them if they do it openly. Then you got to think about how Yahweh look at us. And then you going to come with your mess? Go ahead.
Now I beseech those that read this book, that they be not discouraged for these calamities, but that they judge those punishments not to be for destruction, but for a chastening of our nation.
Right. See, when we turn the other way when wrongdoing happens, see, this is the selfishness of Israel.
Well, you know, it didn't happen in my house.
Well, understand, when he bring the invading army, please don't think that they're going to skip your house.
Please don't think you said, look, I did good. Don't, Mr. Bob Dabalina, don't set my house on fire.
Move out the way. We burning this house too. We burning all up. Go ahead.
For it is a token of his great goodness, when wicked doers are not suffered any long time, but forthwith punished. For not as with other nations, whom the Adonai patiently forbeareth to punish, till they be come to the fullness of their sins, so dealeth he with us.
So then he'll pause. No. You ain't done yet. Let me make sure you get even more sinful. That way I can judge all of it at the same time. Go ahead.
Least that, being come to the height of sin, afterwards he should take vengeance of us. And therefore he never withdraws his mercy from us. And though he punish with adversity, yet doth he never forsake his people. But let this that we have spoken be for a warning unto us. And now will we come to the declaring of the matter in few words. Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh.
All right, so a doctrine is not just what you say, it is what you do. So they want this established man to go ahead and eat this pork chop smothered and covered. All right, so they want him to do this as a display for the rest of the people to follow. So look at what they do. Go ahead.
But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit forth and came of his own accord to the torment. As it behooved them to come, that a result to stand out against such things as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted. But they that had the charge of the wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside,
All right.
besought him to bring flesh of his own provision.
Okay. So let me pull you to the side. Look at. All right, we're gonna have some pork. All right, but what you do is bring some lamb. All right, bring you some lamb. Go ahead.
Such as was lawful for him to use.
All right, so you eat lamb, right? So just bring some lamb. Go ahead.
And make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna show them the pig, right? But then we're gonna, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna do a hand trick. You know what I'm saying? All right, so we're gonna do that right there. All right, so then we're gonna show them the pig, right? And then but then you eat. You know what I'm saying? You eat the lamb. All right. But then they gonna think that you ate the swine's flesh. All right. So that way you don't have to defile yourself, but just accept us before the people. Read.
But you know, at this point, there's a choice to be made. You gonna be the friend of man or the friend of Elohim?
But you have to look at the display of what they want. All right. Let's do the Jedi mind trick on your people. We're gonna act like you ate this pork, but you really gonna eat lamb. Go ahead.
That in so doing he might be delivered from death, and for the old friendship with them find favor.
Right. See? So all you gotta do is not die. All right. So you didn't want to eat the swine flesh. Okay, you spit it out. All right. Okay. We got another plan. All right. Just act like you ate it, and then we're gonna substitute it. Just bring your own meat. All right. Go.
But he began to consider discreetly, and as became his age, and the excellency of his ancient years, and the honor of his glory head.
His gray hair.
Pardon me.
Because, now understand something. There's a reason he's considering the influence that he has. Remember now, the adversary, the devil, needs to get something that can influence you. That's why he went to the woman to influence the man. Understand that he's going to this aged man so that he can influence this the other people's behavior through the man. Go ahead.
And the honor of his gray head, whereunto he was come, and his most honest education from a child, or rather the holy law made and given by Elohim. Therefore he answered accordingly, and willed them straightways to send him to the grave. For it becomes not our age, said he, in any wise to disassemble, whereby many young persons might think that Eleazar, being 80 years old and
90 years old,
were now gone to a strange religion.
Now, you see, he did that for the young people that was going to watch. He said, look, these young people go see me and then think that I ate this stuff. And then they are now persuaded to enter and believe your doctrine. Go ahead.
And so they, through mine hypocrisy and desire to live a little time and a moment longer, should be deceived by me. And I get a stain to mine old age and make it abominable.
I then make my old age abominable by trying to live a few more days. He's like, I'm already 90. How much longer I'm going to live in here? So I'm going to defile out. Look at the great evil that will be done to all these people when they see this. Go ahead.
For though for the present time I should be delivered from the punishment of men, yet should I not escape the hand of the Almighty, neither alive nor dead.
And people don't think about that. All they think about is what happens right now. Go ahead.
Wherefore now, manfully changing this life, I'll show myself such an one as mine age requires, and leave a notable example to such as be young to die willingly and courageously for the honorable and holy laws. And when he had said these words, immediately he went to the torment. They that led him, changing the goodwill, they bear him a little before into hatred.
Right. Now, 1 minute, they like, well, you know, look, man, we old friends. All right, just do this thing right here. Then they turn. As soon as he didn't do what they wanted him to do, see, you'll find that that you have those kind of friends. They friends with you as long as you do everything that they want you to do. As soon as you don't do what they want you to do, because you know the things that you do are supposed to be guided by Yahweh's law, his doctrine. Now they got a problem with you. Go ahead.
Because the foresaid speeches proceeded as they thought from a desperate mind. But when he was ready to die with stripes, he groaned and said, it is manifest unto the Adonai that has the holy knowledge, that whereas I might have been delivered from death, I now endure sore pains in body by being beaten. But in soul I'm well content to suffer these things, because I fear him. And thus this man died, leaving his death for an example of a noble courage and a memorial of virtue, not only unto young men, but unto all his nation.
All right. And then if we consider all of that, you have to first of all think about a 90-year-old man getting beat like that. Let's go to the book of Esther, chapter 1. Let's go ahead and pass those books up before you put them in your bag. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead. Let's remember the address. Let's go ahead. Let's get those. Thank you, sir. Esther chapter 1, and let's start that at verse 1.
Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, this is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 127 provinces, that in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days.
All right, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, 180. Go ahead.
And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days, in the court of the garden of the king's palace.
All right, so then he had all of these days for all of the kingdom, the situation, but then now he has a feast for those that reside in the palace. No matter whether they were servants or great people, he is doing this thing and making sure that it goes forth to everybody in the palace. See, normally how something falls is how people end up treating other people within that organization. Go ahead.
Where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen and purple to silver rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law, none did compel. For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure. Also Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to the king Ahasuerus.
Now, you have to look at some things. The king has a feast to everybody in the palace. But now the queen has a feast for just the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Ahasuerus. Now, understand something. It said, let's say, verse 5, and when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all people that were present in Shushan the palace. Okay, verse 9, Vashti made a feast for the women in the royal house. Go ahead.
On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mihaman, Beztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Agathaba, Zathar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very angry, and his anger burnt in him.
Right, she has basically disrespected him in public. Go ahead.
Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next on to him was Karshena, Shatar, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsena, and Mumakan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law? Because she has not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen has not done wrong to the king only, but also to the princes, and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes, when it shall be reported.
In other words, by her doing this thing, and if you don't do nothing about it, you have not allowed just that to happen in your house, but you have now pushed that same destructive behavior in our houses too. Because they are going to mimic what your wife did. So then it has to be dealt with, and it's got to be dealt with publicly. Because it was done publicly, it has to be dealt with publicly. Otherwise, the rest of us are going to have some problems. Go ahead.
The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. Likewise, all the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she.
Right. See, a lot of times what we look at as the ultimate thing is adultery. Not understanding that the disrespect that she publicly showed her husband is creating a doctrine in the minds of the other people if it's not dealt with. See, we don't look at that. We don't look at that as a great sin. This is a great sin. She ain't slept with nobody, but she done fornicated with another spirit though. Go ahead.
And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. And the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. For he sent letters into all the king's provinces, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people.
According to the language of every people, make sure that they understand that a man is supposed to bear rule in his own house. Now these are the other people that are watching, showing to the king, hey man, if you don't deal with this, we all gonna have problems, and it's gonna be your fault. Keep reading.
After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti, and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king. Let the king appoint officers in all provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Hegi, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them. And let the maiden which pleased the king be queen instead of Vashti.
All because of her open disrespect. She's being replaced for her attitude, not because she has committed natural fornication, but because she has committed spiritual fornication. She following a different spirit than the spirit he following. She decided she don't need to listen to her husband. And if he, being a man in charge, allows that, then the other women are going to mimic what they saw her do. Remember, she has great influence. She had a feast for all the other women. They already look up to her. So what he allows to happen then falls on his plate. Go ahead.
You know, that's the good thing about having real people around you who are willing to tell you the truth.
Yep.
But they're also looking 360 degrees, not just looking in his house. This is going to affect my house, your house, and everybody else's house.
Right. Right. But see, do we have the ability to accept something like that? Or we just take it as, this is my house and can't nobody tell me how to run my house? Because, hey, this the king now. He could have said any of that. He said, it's my house. How y'all gonna tell me how to run my house? Y'all don't tell me if I want to love this old disobedient woman, I can love this old disobedient woman. Ain't nothing y'all can say to me. It's my house. You go home to your little obedient wife if you want to. But then me and Miss Disobedience, we going to love forever and ever. He could have said that. He the king. He could have said whatever he wanted to say. Go ahead.
And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Yehudi, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Yair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Yehuda, whom
Right. Let me read something right here. Now, verse 5. Now, in Shushan the palace, there was a certain Yehudi, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Yair. So then that's Mordecai ben Yair. Then the son of Shimei, Yair ben Shimei. You understand? Go ahead, bro.
whom Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon had carried away. And he brought up Hadassah, that is, Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother. And the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her her things for purification, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens, which were meet to be given her, out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maids unto the best place of the house of the women. Esther had not showed her people, nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she should not show it. And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did, and what should become of her.
So jump to verse 16.
So Esther was taken unto the king Ahasuerus into the house royal in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the provinces and gave gifts according to the state of the king.
Right, and you best believe, see, this is why you want to know what was done beforehand. You best believe she knew and had sense enough to know when he called her, it's time for me to go in there. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 5. Ephesians chapter 5, and let's read verses 1 through 12.
Be you therefore followers of Elohim as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you, as becometh saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather giving of thanks. For this you know, that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man, who is an idolater, has any inheritance in the kingdom of the Mashiach and of Elohim.
But not only do we hang around those individuals, we have pleasure with those individuals. They are friends. But we act like we don't see any of that stuff. Go ahead.
Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things cometh the wrath of Elohim upon the children of disobedience. Be not you therefore partakers with them, for you were sometimes darkness, but now are you light in the Adonai. Walk as children of the light. For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is acceptable unto the Adonai. And have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them.
Right. But see, we keep people who walk in darkness from being reproved. When it's time to reprove them that walk in darkness, we stick up for the workers of darkness. Go ahead.
For it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret.
All right, now let's go to Romans chapter 1. Romans chapter 1, and let's read verses 28 through 32.
And even as they did not like to retain Elohim in their knowledge.
Understand, think about all of the push that we have suffered from the invading armies. So it's real easy for us not to want to retain the knowledge of Elohim. Go ahead.
Elohim gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient.
After giving Israel plenty of time to repent, Israel decides not to, so then he gives us up over unto the thing. So now we can't repent. Go ahead.
Being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of Elohim, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents.
Proud boasters. You get to the point where you get ready to try to correct somebody, and instead of receiving correct measure according to the law, they just tell you how long they've been in the word. In other words, I will not be corrected. He said, greater is a child than an old foolish king who will no more be corrected. We all have to be in a position where we can be corrected. Go ahead.
Without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of Elohim, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them.
Right. And it shows by the words that proceed out of our mouth that we have pleasure in the people who commit such things. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 15. See, we have to understand just how powerful some of these displays are. See, the old man had to realize that if he was selfish and only cared about himself, how many more people would he have doomed to judgment by just acting like he ate the swine's flesh? He didn't even have to eat it. All he had to do is act like he ate it. But then how many more hundreds of thousands of people were going to be compelled to eat the swine's flesh because they thought he did it? See, we don't know that we're justifying people and certain gatherings and things just by our presence. That is before we even speak up for it. So then by the time you say, well, they all right. These heathen, they ain't that bad. I mean, they came in here and they built the gymnasium and they had us, play sports naked, but they not that bad, they're not that bad, they had they brought in a pig and had us, sacrifice a pig on the altar, but they not that bad. They not that bad. They really, they decent people. They real nice, they killed our babies, whoever, circumcised their kids and then, hung them by their necks, but they not that bad. They not that bad. Right. And all of that normally comes as long as the suffering hadn't come to our house. They not that bad because they didn't hang our child. They not that bad because they didn't kill our husband or wife. They not that bad because they didn't burn down our house. But as soon as they say something to our wife that ain't right, as soon as they do something to our kid, now they the devil. But why wasn't they the devil when they did it next door? They're only the devil when they do it to you? That old man could have been selfish. They didn't do that to me. Go ahead.
1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 1. Samuel also said unto Saul, Yahweh sent me to anoint you to be king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore hearken you unto the voice of the words of Yahweh. Thus says Yahweh of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel.
I remember that which Amalek did. So understand something. It says that when you are executing judgment, you are executing Yahweh's judgment. Okay? So when Yahweh brings the children of Israel into this land, he's having them do his business. You don't then get to decide, well, you know what, I'm going to have mercy. People think mercy is something that they can, attribute anytime they want. When Yahweh has brought forth judgment, when you decide that you're going to so-called show mercy to some entity that deserves judgment, you have now placed that judgment upon yourself. Go ahead.
How he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt.
Right. So Yahweh lets you know, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. I know what he did. Now, let's hold your place right there. And let's go to Exodus chapter 17. Exodus chapter 17 and start at verse 8.
Then came Amalek and fought with Israel and Rephidim. And Moshe said unto Joshua, Choose us out men, and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of Elohim in mine hand.
All right, so if you think back, we remember the reading of this particular event. Go ahead.
So Joshua did as Moshe had said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moshe, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass, when Moshe held up his hand, that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moshe's hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him. And he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, the one on the one side, and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moshe built an altar, and called the name of it Yahweh Nisi. For he said, Because Yahweh has sworn that Yahweh will have war with Amalek from generation to generation.
All right, so that was the issue. Now go back to chapter 15, 1 Samuel.
Thus said Yahweh of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have.
Understand, this is many generations later. You do understand that, right? Okay, so now Yahweh is bringing forth judgment. Now, if you call yourself, you gonna go and I'm gonna show mercy. What you about to do is get the judgment that's supposed to be placed on somebody else is what you about to do. Because this is about some things that Yahweh has already let go long ago. Now it's time for it to be dealt with. But imagine the people who were not there. Well, I'm going to show some mercy. What you about to do is get yourself killed. Go ahead.
And spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass.
Which is exactly what you mentioned before. Okay, Yahweh tells them to go in and do this. But what if you question Yahweh's instruction?
I mean, why would Yahweh go and kill kids? His God ain't got no love. Let's just go in there. We're gonna go kill most of the people, and we're gonna bring the kids out the back.
Go ahead.
And Saul gathered the people together and numbered them in Telaim, 200,000 footmen and 10,000 men of Yehuda. And Saul came to a city of Amalek and laid wait in the valley. And Saul said unto the Kenites, Go, depart, get you down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For you showed kindness to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt. So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites. And Saul smote the Amalekites from Havilah until you cometh to Shur, that is over against Egypt. And he took Agag, the king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But Saul and the people spared Agag and the best of the sheep and of the oxen, and of the fatlings and the lambs, and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them. But everything that was vile and refused, that they destroyed utterly.
So now they really question Yahweh's instruction. See, not knowing that this is about some things that were done way back in the past. See, this is what happened when man leads to his own understanding. Do not think that you have all the same information that Yahweh has. But we do the same thing today. Because the leader has not told you everything that transpired in the situation, some things that happened, you think you know what you're dealing with. You don't know what you're dealing with because you don't have all of that information. So now we're going to input some mercy, not understanding that you're causing somebody not to be able to repent. You causing them people to lose their salvation. So now he's going to input some mercy where it wasn't supposed to be any mercy. Their time of mercy has already run out. Go ahead.
You know, brother, in verse 6, it also shows the danger of when we want to take stuff in our own hands and throw everybody in the same pot. You know, like everybody's, oh, the Gentiles this, the Gentiles that. Those are different nation of people. Saul said unto the Kenites, go depart you, get you down from the Amalekites. They was mixed in with them people. But you showed our people kindness. Get out, be gone, so you don't get destroyed with them.
Right. But see, you know what we'll do? We hang out with other people who have done other Israelites wrong. And then we mingle ourselves with them people. Then when destruction comes, we can't figure out how we got sucked up in it. Why was you hanging with them? You know they did other Israelites wrong. How is it you were okay with hanging with them? Right. Now you getting sucked up in their destruction. Go ahead.
Then came the word of Yahweh unto Samuel, saying, it repents me that I have set up Saul to be king, for he's turned back from following me, and has not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto Yahweh all night. And when Samuel rose early to meet Saul in the morning, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul came to Carmel, and behold, he set him up a place, and is gone about, and passed on, and gone down to Gilgal. And Samuel came to Saul, and Saul said unto him, blessed be you of Yahweh. I have performed the commandments of Yahweh.
You see that? He believes that he has followed the instructions. It is amazing how you have to teach so-called educated people. This brother grew up in the law. Why does he believe that he has followed Yahweh's commandment? And sometimes you have to, it's amazing that people will proclaim to be intelligent on one side and then with the other hand say, I don't know what's going on. Why you don't know? How is it you don't know? I have performed the commandment of Yahweh. No, you have not. Go ahead.
And Samuel said, what mean then this bleating of the sheep in mine ears and the lowing of the oxen which I hear?
If you have followed the commandment of Yahweh, everything over here should be dead. Tell me how I hear animal sounds. Explain that to me. Is that the soul of the animals? Because if it ain't, you didn't follow them instructions. Go ahead.
And Saul said, they brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and of the oxen to sacrifice unto Yahweh your El. And the rest we have utterly destroyed.
Right. But you notice it's they, and then when it's time to do something good, it's we. Pay attention. And Saul said they have brought them from the Amalekites. For the people spared the best of the sheep, the people did that, and the oxen, the people did that, to sacrifice unto Yahweh. And the rest we have utterly destroyed. When he think it's something good, it's we. When he think it's something bad, it's them. Go ahead.
Then Samuel said unto Saul, stay, and I will tell you what Yahweh has said to me this night. And he said unto him, say on. And Samuel said, when you was little in your own sight, was you not made the head of the tribes of Israel, and Yahweh anointed you king over Israel? And Yahweh sent you on a journey, and said, go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed.
Right.
Wherefore then did you not obey the voice of Yahweh?
Right. This was about bringing forth Yahweh's judgment. That's what kings and rulers of Israel are supposed to do. You bring forth Yahweh's judgment. But see, there's a selfish part that's now going forward, that they want to do what they want to do instead of following the instructions that was given unto them. Go ahead.
But did fly up on the spoil, and did evil in the sight of Yahweh. And Saul said unto Samuel, Yes, I have obeyed the voice of Yahweh.
It's amazing how you got to argue with somebody so that you can prove to them that they did not follow the instructions that were given unto them. So you have to wonder, did this brother have a whole nother set of instructions in his heart and mind? What instructions do you follow? Because it ain't the ones I gave to you. Go ahead.
And have gone the way which Yahweh sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites.
You see how he rephrased what he has done? And Saul said to Samuel, Yes, I have obeyed the voice of Yahweh and have gone the way which Yahweh sent me. Remember, he sent me to this land. I went there. And I have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. You say you brought him. Why he here? Why he here? Go ahead.
But the people took of the spoil.
See, it's them. It's them. I couldn't possibly do no wrong, but them did. Go ahead.
The chief of the things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto Yahweh your El in
But
Gilgal.
we did it for a good cause. See, we showed mercy because we gonna make a sacrifice to Yahweh. See, I did wrong that we may do right. Go ahead.
But you see the separation he has now put between himself and Yahweh. Yahweh your El, not Yahweh my Elohim.
Well, see, that's what happened anyway. When man decided to listen to his wife in the garden, they separated themselves from Yahweh. Yahweh hadn't separated himself. He said, man, where are you? Well, I heard you talking, and then you was coming, and then I realized, I was naked. Who told you was naked? Remember now, the first separation in this was man. He the one separated himself from Elohim. So then when people get cast out, understand, they had already cast themselves out. Go ahead.
And Samuel said, Has Yahweh as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yahweh? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft.
If rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, it says you shall not suffer a witch to live. Go ahead.
And stubbornness is as lawlessness and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yahweh, he has also rejected you from being king.
When you reject Yahweh, he in turn rejects you. Go ahead.
And Saul said unto Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of Yahweh.
Now he recognizes he has sinned. You see how you got to go round and round? You got to go several rounds with somebody just to prove to them that they've done something wrong. Because he keeps rephrasing what he's done and make what he has done not wrong. So it takes several rounds just to prove to him that he has done wrong. Go ahead.
And your words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice.
Now he accepts that. But look at how much has been going on round for round just to get this person to understand what they've done wrong. Had they understood or accepted what they had done wrong earlier, there might be a situation of change. Go ahead.
Now therefore, I pray you, pardon my sin and turn again with me, that I may worship Yahweh. And Samuel said unto Saul, I will not return with you, for you have rejected the word of Yahweh, and Yahweh has rejected you from being king over Israel.
Right, because if I go with you, then I am justifying you with my presence. See, these are the things that we don't understand. See, this is how we justify wickedness. Right here. You have rejected the word of Elohim. By me doing things with you, I have then accepted your person as if you are a good individual. I can't go with you now. Go ahead.
There's two parts. You look at that side, and then he's talking about, if you come with me, then I may worship Yahweh. I ain't got to be with you to worship Yahweh.
Right.
This ain't a buddy system.
No. What it's about is I need you to make me look good in front of the people. That's what this is about. And we don't even understand that we get used by evildoers. They like, hey, bro, why don't you come over here with me? Why?
So then the people will think I'm righteous because you here. Right. Go ahead.
And as Samuel turned about to go away, he laid hold upon the skirt of his mantle, and it rent.
It tore. Go ahead.
And Samuel said unto him, Yahweh has rent the kingdom of Israel from you this day, and has given it to your neighbor, a neighbor of yours that is better than you.
Uh-huh.
And also the strength of Israel will not lie nor repent, for he's not a man that he should repent.
So go back to the situation of Vashti. She wouldn't follow the commandment of her husband, and she was removed, and another woman that was found better than her came and sat in her place. Well, Yahweh did the same thing. Go ahead.
Then he said, I have sinned, yet honor me now.
Go ahead.
Pray
Listen.
before the elders of my people.
Right. You see that? Honor me before the elders of my people. Present yourself with me in a public display. See, we don't understand what it is we do when we go and hang out with people and we speak up for them. No, these people have done evil against Yahweh, and you have justified them. Then he said, I've sinned, yet honor me now, I pray you, before the elders of my people and before Israel. And turn again with me, that I may worship Yahweh your Elohim. Like my brother said, why you need me to go with you to worship Yahweh? This ain't about you worshiping Yahweh. This is about you justifying yourself with my presence. This is how the foolish versions fool the wise versions into giving up some of their oil. Go ahead.
So Samuel turned again after Saul, and Saul worshipped Yahweh. Then said Samuel, bring you hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. And Samuel said, as your sword has made women childless, so shall your mother be childless among women. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before Yahweh in Gilgal.
Now, why Samuel got to do what the king was supposed to do? But he's no longer king now. See, he's king in the flesh. But once Yahweh said, I have found a neighbor better than you. All we were waiting for now is the physical presentation of this. Hey, it may take 10, 15 years. Don't matter. You ain't the king no more. You're just the king in flesh. The king in spirit is another man that Yahweh has found. Who's better than you? Because when he tell him, go over that hill and kill everything that breathes, the air gonna be scared to come through there.
You know, I would blow wind on those trees, but I know that David came down there with that sword and he killed everything. I'm not even gonna blow over there.
Go ahead.
Then Samuel went to Ramah, and Saul went up to his house to Gibeah of Saul. And Samuel came no more to see Saul until the day of his death. Nevertheless, Samuel mourned for Saul, and Yahweh repented that he had made Saul king over Israel.
All right, let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Psalm chapter 50. Psalm 50, and let's start that at verse 1.
El Shaddai, even Yahweh, had spoken and called the earth from the rising of the sun unto the going down thereof. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, Elohim has shined. O Elohim, our Elohim, shall come, and shall not keep silence. A fire shall devour before him, and it shall be very tempestuous round about him. He shall call to the heavens from above, and to the earth, that he may judge his people. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice.
Right. My elder used to ask, what's your sacrifice? What is the covenant that you have made? What if you told Yahweh you were going to do that now after a while and everything has died down, you ain't doing no more? See, I tell people, be careful about all them promises that you make. You know, when we first meet a woman, we love her. Oh, I'm going to give you the stars and the moon. I'm gonna bring you flowers every day. No, the hell you ain't. And the stars and the moon, they don't belong to you. You can't get her those. Was you gonna steal Yahweh's stuff and give it to her? Go ahead.
And the heavens shall declare his righteousness, for Elohim is judge himself. Hear, O my people, and I will speak, O Israel, and I'll testify against you. I am Elohim, even your Elohim. I'll not reprove you for your sacrifices or your burnt offerings to have been continually before me.
Right. I ain't gonna punish you about the sacrifices. You can't do those anyway. Every time I send a ruling power against you because of your disobedience, I ain't gonna judge you for that. You can't do them. I ain't gonna worry about that. It's other stuff that I'm gonna judge you about. Go ahead.
I will take no bullock out of your house, nor he-goats out of your folds. For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills.
In other words, everything that you offered to me was already mine anyway. It's my stuff. Go ahead.
I know all the fowls of the mountains, and the wild beasts of the field are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine, and the fullness thereof.
In other words, you wouldn't even understand what a God eat. What I'm gonna tell you for? Yeah, I'm hungry. I'm about to go and consume some constellations. What? Go ahead.
Will I eat the flesh of bulls or drink the blood of goats? Offer unto Elohim thanksgiving and pay your vows unto the Most High. And call upon me in the day of trouble. I will deliver you and you shall glorify me.
I will deliver you and you shall glorify me. But do we forget all that Yahweh has done once we get comfortable? See, when we homeless and jobless, oh, it's Yahweh this, it's Yahweh that. Let him give us a couple of cars. Let him give us a place to stay. Now we done forgot about Yahweh till we become homeless and carless again. Now we can ride the bus. Oh, praise Yahweh. Wait a minute, you can praise him in your own car? But you praise him when you lost your car. You can praise him in your own house? Oh, but you praise him when you lost your house. Oh, so you're one of those that just praise him when it's convenient and when you can get something out of him. But what he said about Israel, when I have fed you to the full, then you're going to turn against me. And you watch Israel, this is what we do every time. Once we get some money, once we get comfortable, Yahoo. Then when we need him, Yahweh. So we go from Yahweh to Yahoo. Back and forth. How long you think he gonna keep playing that game with you though? Go ahead, brother.
But unto the wicked Elohim says, what have you to do to declare my statutes, or that you should take my covenant in your mouth?
Keep my covenant out your mouth. Go ahead.
Seeing you hateth instruction and cast my words behind you. When you sought a thief, then you consented with him, and has been partaker with adultery.
Right, because they didn't steal my stuff and they didn't adult my wife.
You don't see people hanging out with the folk who committed adultery in their house. Hey man, who you going with? I'm going with James, man. He just broke in and stole my television. We finna go out here and hang at the mall. People will look at you crazy. But see, we'll go hang with James even though we know that he broke in and stole Ruel's television. How the hell is that okay? How are you okay with that? Go ahead, bro.
You giveth your mouth to evil, and your tongue to frame deceits. You sitteth and speaketh against your brother. You slandereth your own mother's son. These things have you done, and I kept silence. You thought it that I was altogether such an one as yourself.
Right. You believe that I agreed with you. See, because I didn't say nothing, you thought I agreed with you. You thought that me and you was on one accord. No, I was pausing to go ahead and let you do it 3-4 more times so I can prove that this is the manner of individual that you really are. That it wasn't just a thing. See? So now I wasn't agreeing with you. I was pausing. Go ahead.
But I will reprove you and set them in order before your eyes. Now consider this, you that forget Elohim, lest I tear you in pieces, and there be none to deliver. Whoso offers praise glorifies me, and to him that orders his conversation aright will I show the salvation of Elohim.
And we have to consider the power of that. To him that orders his conversation aright, I will show the salvation of Elohim. So consider that you can let certain things come out of your mouth, provide another doctrine, and lose your salvation. Out of all the things that we have done, is it worth letting something come out of your mouth that teaches another doctrine and lose your salvation? Consider that, Israel. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.